Welcome to Beyond Vision Mindset. We've all been there. In the middle of a heated argument, our emotions getting the best of us, and finding ourselves struggling to stay calm. But what if we could change how we approach these moments? What if we could learn to stay composed, in control, and even grow from every conflict we encounter? In today's video, we're diving into 6 ways to stay calm in arguments and control your emotions, using the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Imagine handling every disagreement with clarity, inner peace, and wisdom, rather than letting your emotions dictate the outcome. Whether you're navigating toxic environments, tough conversations, or just want to avoid the emotional aftermath of a heated debate, these Stoic techniques will empower you to stay calm, collected, and in control. Through the guidance of Stoic principles, you'll learn to reclaim emotional mastery, approach challenges with resilience, and turn every argument into an opportunity for growth. Let's dive in and uncover Section 1. Section 1. Shift your focus inward. Reclaiming control of your thoughts. In the heat of an argument, it's easy to feel swept away by your emotions. When we're confronted with opposition or conflict, our natural instinct is often to react, whether it's defending ourselves, retaliating, or getting angry. But what if the key to staying calm was not in controlling the other person, but in controlling ourselves? This is where the power of Stoicism comes in. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, teaches us that while we can't control what happens to us, we can control how we respond to it. The first step in mastering emotional control during an argument is to shift your focus inward. This means taking a step back from the heat of the moment and looking at what's happening inside of you. The first thing to recognize is that, while you can't control the words or actions of others, you always have control over your own thoughts and reactions. In moments of conflict, this inward focus is your greatest tool. One of the most powerful ways to do this is by creating a brief mental pause. Instead of immediately reacting to the other person's words, take a moment to breathe, reflect, and think. This is where Stoicism teaches us to make rational decisions instead of being driven by impulse. By creating this space, you allow yourself to choose a response that is calm, thoughtful, and aligned with your values, rather than one that is merely a reaction to your emotions. Shifting inward helps you regain control of your emotional state. It's about recognizing that emotions don't have to define your actions. Rather than being at the mercy of your immediate feelings, whether it's anger, frustration, or hurt, you can respond in a way that is composed and grounded. This ability to pause and reflect is a key Stoic principle that, when practiced consistently, will help you handle any argument with grace and wisdom. When you begin to shift your focus inward, you stop allowing external events to control your emotional responses. Instead, you take ownership of how you feel and how you react. This process of emotional self-regulation is at the heart of Stoic philosophy, and it can be a transformative tool in all of your relationships. By learning to control your thoughts and emotions, you become more resilient, less reactive, and far more effective at navigating even the most difficult situations. Section 2. Embrace the power of perspective. Seeing the bigger picture. One of the most profound lessons Stoicism teaches is the power of perspective. In any argument, it's easy to get caught up in the heat of the moment, viewing the situation as a battle where you either win or lose. This reactive approach not only escalates conflict but often clouds your judgment, leaving you feeling angry, misunderstood, or hurt. The key to maintaining calm and emotional control during arguments lies in shifting your perspective to something much broader than just the moment at hand. When you're engaged in a disagreement, it's easy to fixate on winning the argument or proving yourself right. But Stoicism urges us to look beyond the immediate exchange and see the bigger picture. Ask yourself, what is truly important here? Is this argument worth damaging a relationship over? Will the outcome of this disagreement matter in the long run? These are the types of questions that can help you detach emotionally from the situation and put things in perspective. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reminds himself that our time on earth is limited. When we remember this, the small, fleeting moments of conflict become less significant in the grand scheme of things. It's about asking yourself, will this argument matter a year from now? A decade from now? By shifting the lens through which you view the conflict, you start to realize that many of the things we argue about are temporary, insignificant, or even trivial. This shift in perspective allows you to disengage from the ego. Arguments often become so heated because we feel personally attacked or threatened. But Stoic wisdom teaches us that if we view every argument as an opportunity to practice wisdom and virtue, we can approach the situation without the emotional baggage that comes from feeling attacked. Instead of reacting defensively, we can approach the conversation with a mindset of openness and growth. In these moments, it's crucial to practice emotional detachment. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means realizing that you are not your emotions. Just because you feel angry or upset in the moment doesn't mean you have to act on it. You can acknowledge your feelings without letting them take control. By detaching yourself from the immediate rush of emotions, you gain the ability to think clearly and respond with wisdom. Stoic philosophers teach that nothing external can disturb your peace unless you allow it. This mindset helps us avoid being dragged into conflicts that, in the end, don't serve our greater good. By embracing this perspective, we empower ourselves to remain calm, rational, and in control, regardless of what is happening around us. The next time you're faced with an argument, remind yourself to zoom out. Look at the situation through the lens of time and wisdom. Realize that the disagreement in front of you is just one small moment in the bigger picture of life. By doing this, you'll find yourself less emotionally charged and more able to respond thoughtfully, rather than react impulsively. By embracing a Stoic perspective, you'll start to see the power of choice, the choice to remain calm, to not take things personally, and to see every argument as an opportunity for growth. The more you practice this mindset, the more you'll find that your emotional responses in arguments become calmer, more measured, and more aligned with your true values. Section 3. Cultivate self-control. Respond, don't react. A crucial element of emotional mastery in arguments is self-control. We often think of self-control as a skill that only applies to resisting temptation, but in the context of conflict, it plays an even more vital role. Instead of reacting impulsively to the words or actions of others, Stoic philosophy teaches us to respond with purpose, wisdom, and calm. When we're in the midst of an argument, our natural instinct is to react, whether that's raising our voice, attacking the other person, or defending ourselves aggressively. However, this reactionary mode comes from a place of emotion, often fueled by ego, fear, or insecurity. Stoicism, on the other hand, urges us to slow down, take a deep breath, and give ourselves space to consider our response. Why is this important? Because in the heat of an argument, emotions can cloud our judgment. We might say things we regret, escalate the conflict unnecessarily, or make decisions we don't truly believe in. Reacting impulsively is a sign of emotional imbalance. In contrast, When we take a step back and choose to respond thoughtfully, we put ourselves in a position of strength. This allows us to address the situation with clarity, rather than contributing to the chaos. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently speaks about the importance of controlling one's impulses. One of his guiding principles was that we should not allow our emotions to control us. Instead, we should train ourselves to respond with reason, even when others are acting irrationally. By focusing on our own behavior and actions, we retain control over the outcome of the argument, regardless of how the other person behaves. Self-control also involves managing our inner dialogue. Often, during an argument, our minds become flooded with all sorts of thoughts, defensive thoughts, judgments, or criticisms of the other person. These thoughts fuel our emotional reactions and make it harder to maintain control. By practicing mindfulness and observing our thoughts, we can gain clarity on what is actually happening and decide not to let our inner monologue dictate our behavior. One powerful Stoic practice for cultivating self-control in the midst of conflict is to engage in what's called pausing. This simple but effective technique involves taking a brief pause before responding in any heated situation. This gives us time to clear our minds and recenter ourselves. During this pause, we can remind ourselves of the bigger picture, reflect on our values, and ensure that our response aligns with our true intentions. Self-control is not about suppressing our emotions or ignoring them. It's about choosing how we express them. It's about acknowledging the feeling of anger, frustration, or hurt without letting those emotions dictate our actions. When we practice this self-mastery, we are able to navigate even the most challenging situations with grace and composure. The next time you find yourself in an argument, remind yourself. You are in control of your response. You may not be able to control the other person's behavior, but you have full control over how you choose to react. By practicing this self-control, you'll find that your arguments become less intense, more constructive, and less emotionally draining. Section 4. Reframe the argument. Seek understanding, not victory. One of the most transformative concepts in Stoic philosophy is the idea of reframing situations. Instead of seeing an argument as a battle to win or a chance to prove you're right, shift your mindset to see it as an opportunity for understanding and growth. This shift in perspective can completely change the dynamics of the argument and your emotional experience. In the heat of conflict, it's easy to fall into the trap of seeing the situation as a zero-sum game. Someone must win, and someone must lose. This mindset fuels the desire to prove the other person wrong and to validate our own point of view. We often become so focused on winning that we forget the real goal is to understand the other person's perspective and to communicate our own with clarity. Reframing an argument through the Stoic lens means seeing the person you're arguing with not as an adversary, but as a fellow human being. As Marcus Aurelius often wrote in Meditations, we are all part of a larger whole, connected by our shared humanity. Other people's flaws, mistakes, or misunderstandings are not personal attacks on you, but simply reflections of their own inner struggles. This realization allows us to approach the argument from a place of compassion rather than defensiveness. When we seek understanding, we break free from the competitive mindset that fuels hostility. We can stop worrying about defending our ego and start focusing on the issue at hand. Ask questions to get to the root of the conflict, and genuinely listen to the other person's point of view. Doing so will not only diffuse tension but will often reveal areas where we can agree or find common ground. When we engage in arguments with the goal of understanding, rather than winning, we put ourselves in a position of emotional strength. The argument becomes less about right versus wrong and more about finding mutual respect and resolution. This allows us to step out of the battle and into a place of clarity, where both parties can come to a mutual understanding and find a path forward. In practice, reframing an argument might look like this. Instead of thinking, "I need to prove that I'm right," consider asking yourself, "What can I learn from this conversation? How can I communicate my thoughts more effectively? What is the other person's perspective, and how can I empathize with it?" When we stop focusing on defeating the other person, we can focus on aligning our actions and words with our core values: wisdom, understanding, and self-control. This Stoic reframe doesn't mean that we have to accept everything the other person says or believe that they are right. It's about approaching the conversation with openness, not rigidity. It's about being willing to challenge our own assumptions and, when necessary, change our perspective. Humility is key. The Stoics remind us that no one is infallible, and wisdom often comes from being open to new ideas and learning from others. At the heart of reframing an argument is emotional detachment. When we are too emotionally invested in being right, we lose sight of the bigger picture. We become entangled in the emotional turmoil, and it becomes difficult to think clearly. Reframing helps us detach emotionally from the situation, allowing us to approach the disagreement more rationally and with an open heart. By seeking understanding rather than victory, you're not only improving your ability to stay calm in arguments but also strengthening your relationships and building your emotional resilience. When the focus is on learning and growing, the argument becomes a catalyst for personal development rather than a destructive force. It's not about winning. It's about becoming better, wiser, and more empathetic through the experience. So, next time you find yourself in the midst of a heated disagreement, remember that your ultimate goal should not be to win the argument, but to engage in a meaningful dialogue. Focus on the opportunity to learn from the other person, express yourself clearly, and, most importantly, stay true to the Stoic principle of seeking truth and understanding over pride or victory. Section 5. Cultivate empathy. Understanding before responding. One of the most powerful techniques to remain calm during an argument is to cultivate empathy. It's easy to become defensive or irritated when we feel that we're being attacked or misunderstood. However, Stoic wisdom teaches us that in every situation, especially in moments of conflict, it's essential to put ourselves in the other person's shoes. By understanding their emotions, motivations, and perspective, we can not only maintain our emotional composure but also respond in a more constructive and respectful way. Marcus Aurelius often emphasized that our perception of others is frequently clouded by our own biases and emotions. By intentionally shifting our focus from our own feelings to those of the other person, we create the opportunity for calmness and clarity. This doesn't mean that we agree with the other person's viewpoint, but it allows us to view the situation from their perspective, making it easier to handle the conflict without escalating it. To practice empathy, it's helpful to listen actively during an argument. Most of us tend to listen with the intention of responding, which can lead to misunderstandings and miscommunications. Instead, make a conscious effort to truly listen to what the other person is saying without interrupting or formulating your response in your head. This allows you to fully absorb their point of view before responding, and it creates a moment of pause that can help you remain calm. Empathy also allows us to recognize when the other person's actions are rooted in fear, frustration, or insecurity. Understanding that these emotions often drive negative behavior can help us avoid taking things personally. Rather than responding with anger or defensiveness, we can approach the situation with compassion and a desire to find common ground. By doing so, we diffuse the tension and create an opportunity for resolution rather than escalation. An effective way to practice empathy is by asking open-ended questions that show genuine interest in the other person's feelings and perspective. For example, asking, "Can you explain why this is so important to you?" Or, "How do you feel about what just happened?" can provide valuable insights into their emotional state and create a space for a more productive conversation. Furthermore, empathizing with others doesn't mean that we should sacrifice our own boundaries or values. We can hold firm to what we believe while still respecting the other person's point of view. It's about finding the balance between asserting ourselves and understanding the other person's emotional state. This balance allows us to remain grounded in our own values while maintaining harmony in the conversation. By consistently practicing empathy in arguments, we can improve the overall quality of our relationships. When people feel heard and understood, they are more likely to engage with us in a respectful manner, creating an environment of mutual respect and trust. Over time, this practice of empathy builds not only our emotional resilience but also our ability to navigate conflicts with grace and wisdom. Lastly, empathy also helps us avoid jumping to conclusions. Often in arguments, we think we know what the other person is going to say or why they're upset, but making assumptions can lead to misinterpretations. Empathy encourages us to approach each situation with an open mind and curiosity rather than judgment. When we cultivate empathy, we not only keep our emotions in check but also enhance the quality of our communication and deepen our relationships. It's a key ingredient in handling arguments calmly and ensuring that we're responding, not reacting, to others. Section 6. Practice detachment. Letting go of the need to win. In arguments, especially heated ones, there's often an underlying need to win. The desire to prove we're right or to get the last word can be a major emotional trigger. However, the Stoic philosophy of detachment teaches us that peace of mind and emotional control come from releasing the need for validation or victory in conflict. Instead, we can adopt the mindset that the goal isn't to win, but to resolve the disagreement in a way that maintains mutual respect and understanding. Marcus Aurelius believed that it's often better to focus on the process of the argument rather than the outcome. Detachment allows us to remain grounded in the present moment, without getting caught up in the ego's desire for dominance. When we detach from the need to win or prove a point, we can engage in the discussion with a clear and objective perspective, rather than a reactionary or emotional one. This allows us to choose our responses wisely and act with integrity, rather than being driven by impulse or a sense of pride. Detachment doesn't mean apathy. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It involves fully participating in the conversation while remaining detached from the outcome. We can still have strong opinions, and we can still stand up for ourselves, but the key is not allowing the argument to control us emotionally. By focusing on what's truly important, maintaining respect, understanding, and clarity, our emotional stability remains intact. A simple practice to help you develop detachment is to pause and breathe before reacting. When you feel the urge to defend yourself or react emotionally, take a deep breath and give yourself a moment to evaluate the situation. Ask yourself, what is my true goal here? Is it to resolve the conflict, to understand the other person's perspective, or simply to win the argument? This brief pause can help you gain clarity and ensure that your response is aligned with your values and goals, not driven by emotion or ego. By practicing detachment, we empower ourselves to navigate arguments with wisdom and calmness. We stop seeking approval from others, and instead, focus on maintaining our internal peace. This practice strengthens our emotional resilience and ultimately improves our relationships, as we stop viewing conflicts as battles to win but as opportunities for growth, understanding, and connection. Conclusion: mastering emotional control in arguments. Remaining calm in arguments and mastering emotional control is not just about avoiding conflict. It's about engaging with it in a way that promotes understanding, respect, and growth. By applying the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism, we can shift our focus inward, let go of the need for validation, and build emotional resilience in the face of conflict. With practices such as mindfulness, detachment, empathy, and emotional awareness, we can transform arguments from moments of stress and tension into opportunities for personal growth and connection. As you navigate heated debates, remember that the true power lies in your ability to remain composed. Your response, not your reaction, defines the outcome of every argument. By focusing on understanding, practicing detachment, and staying connected to your own values, you can remain emotionally calm and handle any conflict with clarity and wisdom. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you gain new insights on staying calm during arguments and mastering emotional control, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Beyond Vision Mindset for more content on building inner peace, emotional resilience, and personal growth. Let us know in the comments how you handle arguments and any tips you use to stay calm and in control. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Stay calm, stay wise, and remember, true strength comes from within.